This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
We will not stop until we have ended the tragedy of homeless veterans.
The House is making their way back to Washington
because the rule was to stay in place. It cost all of those children their lives.
They're defending that big word. A big word is democracy.
We heard a wow.
I said that sounds like boots.
Yeah.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. We start at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. A somber ceremony today for those who gave all on Veterans Day.
Because of what every veteran has done today, the flame of liberty shines bright. The people of our nation sleep safe. The American dream surges forward. And our magnificent destiny stands more splendid and glorious than ever before.
President Trump said there has already been radical changes to veteran medical benefits, housing and employment, and more is coming.
We've added more than 1 million extra service hours across the VA centers, and we've opened 20 new facilities in 13 states. Earlier this year, I signed an order establishing the National Center for Warrior Independence to house up to 6,000 veterans in need, and we will not stop until we have ended the tragedy of homeless veterans. And I'm pleased to report that since January, the veterans' unemployment rate has fallen by more than 26%.
Vice President J.D. Vance served 4 years in the Marines. He issued this call of action to all Americans today.
If you know somebody in your family, give them a call and say thank you. I heard already this morning from my mother-in-law who sent me a message, and it touched my heart. Just knowing that we have loved ones who recognize our service, who care about it, and who care enough to go out and say thank you. So to the American people, if we want to keep on ensuring that the very best and brightest sign up for our military, the very best way to do it is to make sure that the veterans know that we are grateful to them.
Now to the government shutdown. The House could take up the Senate-passed measure as early as tomorrow. A weary Senate Majority Leader John Thune.
This has been a very long road, quite literally the longest shutdown in history. I am very, very happy to be able to say that we are coming to the end.
CBS's Caitlin Huey-Burns breaks down the timeline.
The House is making their way back to Washington. They've been out for the past 7 weeks. They are coming back. They are expected to start voting on this tomorrow. So we could see this signed into law if everything goes according to plan, everything goes well for Republicans, and signed by the president tomorrow night.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy stood in an airport terminal in Wisconsin today and gave an update on flight delays because of the shutdown.
My concern was not Thanksgiving. My concern was this Thursday and this Friday. This was the critical juncture where we were going to see, if you thought this weekend was bad, truly this Thursday and Friday, I think you would have seen mass double, triple the number of cancellations and delays in the airspace. So I'm grateful that the Senate and hopefully the House come to their senses and fund the government.
In Texas, the families of 6 campers and 2 counselors killed in the July 4th floods at Camp Mystic are suing the camp and its owners. 2 separate lawsuits were filed on Monday, one by the families of 5 campers and 2 counselors. Wendy Childress's daughter was one of those counselors, telling CBS.
Those 2 girls would have taken the 13 tiny children and their care up the hill and into safety. But because the rule was to stay in place, they stayed in place, and it cost all of those children and Chloe and Catherine their lives.
Both lawsuits accuse Camp Mystic and other parties of negligence and wrongful death. In all, 25 campers died along with the 2 counselors. Indiana got walloped by the storm that tickled New York and Pennsylvania this week. They've got 14 inches of snow on the ground for their first peek at winter. Meteorologist Rob Marciano.
Intense lake effect snow causing cars to spin out on Interstate 65 in northwest Indiana. Traffic backed up for miles.
This bus driver said, "No thank you, winter."
People were backed up on the ramp for over an hour. Everyone
everyone was getting stuck in the ice.
A little rough for round one. And on this Veterans Day, Fox's Gernal Scott has some history.
You can trace this day's remembrances back to November 11th, 1919, the first Armistice Day, to remember those who then President Woodrow Wilson said died in the country's service in World War I. In 1954, Congress renamed it Veterans Day to honor those who serve in every branch.
These Americans tell Fox News
They're defending that big word. A big word is democracy.
It's never forgotten.
Currently, America's active duty military, National Guard, and reserves number more than 2 million. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, another potential challenger for Josh Shapiro. New York's congressional delegation heads to Washington, and Senator John Fetterman's new book out today. Those stories after weather.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Tonight, it will be mainly cloudy, times windy. Lake effect snow and some mixed raindrops will accumulate a few inches in some parts of western New York and far northwest Pennsylvania. Low temps ranging mid-20s to low 30s. That lake effect will diminish during the day tomorrow to a couple of rain showers. High temps, low 40s. On Thursday, clouds, breaks of sun, a shower or two. High temperatures in the 40s.
Thank you, Kevin. Checking the stories where you live in New York and Pennsylvania. Seeing green. Our first snow of the season is behind us, and 511NY, a traffic map, shows all roads across New York and Pennsylvania are now green. That means not a single weather-related slowdown after the slushy ride for many in the lake belts this morning. We'll be almost 50 by Saturday. There could be another Republican running for Josh Shapiro's seat in Pennsylvania. Family Life's Mark Webster has the latest.
Yes, Sarah. Republican State Senator Doug Mastriano tells WHTM he's mulling over a second run for governor. There's already one Republican hat in that ring, belonging to State Treasurer Stacey Garrity, who he'd face in a spring primary. But Mastriano isn't only facing Garrity, but his own party. The Pennsylvania GOP has already endorsed her, an early pick that rankled Mastriano, who called it an early coronation of a party candidate. Regardless, Mastriano says he already has a campaign team in place and expects to make a final decision on whether to run by January. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
New York's congressional delegation is reacting to the news of a possible deal to end the government shutdown. The House could vote as soon as tomorrow on Senate-approved legislation. Hudson Valley Republican Mike Lawler.
The government is reopening after 40-plus days, something that never should have happened.
Democrat Tim Kennedy of Western New York is slamming the deal.
It's a total betrayal of the American people. It continues an assault on health care in this country.
They're on orders to get back to Washington ASAP for that potential vote Wednesday. There's been a flip in election night results in one southern tier village. While Johnson City, New York incumbent Republican Mayor Martin Meany held a 9-vote lead on election night, the counting of affidavit and additional absentee ballots has now given Democratic challenger Christina Charuk a 13-vote lead. She tells WIVT she's already making plans for her new administration.
Building bridges. I've been in contact with some of the other recently elected officials across village and town lines, and we're all very excited to work together.
The closeness of the result will trigger an automatic recount before the result can be finalized. Meany was seeking a second 4-year term. Pennsylvania Democrat John Fetterman says he should have quit his 2022 U.S. Senate race after suffering a stroke 4 days before the primary. That admission comes in his new book, Unfettered, out today.
If anyone feels lost or they're in the throes of depression, I beg people, please stay in this game, because I promise you, you will get better. Because 3 years ago, I was in the depths of that depression, and now I've emerged as a United States Senator. I am truly grateful.
Fetterman won the 2022 Democratic primary by more than 30 points and wound up beating GOP opponent Dr. Mehmet Oz in the general election, despite suffering a stroke in May of 2022. Next at 5 on this Veterans Day, highlights from today's edition of Hometown Heroes as we hear from Matt Suter, a Marine Corps veteran who now serves as a chaplain to veterans in New York's Southern Tier. He spoke with our own Mark Webster about the pressures unique to those who serve in the military. Let's listen in.
The stakes are higher in everything you do. If you and I go to work on Monday and the boss tells you to do something and you don't do it, Well, there's probably going to be a conversation. There might be some questions asked, but at the end of the day, it happens and you move on. In a military setting, if you don't do what your superior tells you to do, number one, it's disobedience of an order, and there will be consequences for that. And even worse than the consequences is if you are in that life or death situation, it costs somebody their life for you to disobey those instructions, those orders. And so that was the problem that I faced. I was given something to do and I did the opposite. And I was in a lot of trouble, not just a little bit.
That's a pressure cooker that most of us don't ever face.
Right.
So you saw that. You get out of the service. Then how do you eventually wind up being a chaplain to vets?
Well, after I got back from Iraq, one of my squad leaders who had seen action, he came back and needed to talk to somebody about that. You can't carry a burden like that on your own, and those who try fail. So he pursued some mental health experts for that. They weren't really able to help him because they didn't have similar experiences to his, and he always felt like either he or they was an outsider in the conversation. Where he found relief was when he got together with other Marines and talked about his experiences with them, because they did have a reference point. He didn't have to stop every 5 minutes and explain what he meant by something that he said, because it's a culture where we're there with one another. And so I had these experiences long before I ever considered chaplaincy, where this guy would just sit down and talk about what he went through. And it helped him just to have somebody listen without all of the anxiety that some outsider might experience. And so it occurred to me, what if I could combine the experiences I had in the military with helping people who did need to deal with their trauma?
That's chaplain and Marine Corps veteran Matt Suter. You can subscribe, listen to, and share Hometown Heroes and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org.
Building savings and investments takes a steady, disciplined approach, but there's another factor we often overlook: the attitude of a steward. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. Scripture encourages saving and investing. Preparing for the future is wise, but it also carries a subtle danger. When resources are scarce, trusting God's daily provision often comes naturally. However, as wealth grows, the temptation is to place our security in money rather than in the Lord. The way to stay balanced is to remember this truth: everything belongs to God, whether you have little or much. You and I are not owners. We're managers, stewards of what He has entrusted to us. So yes, build wealth by saving and investing, but do it with the heart of a faithful steward. Get biblical answers to your financial questions in the Faith Fi community. Download Faith Fi, Faith and Finance in your app store or visit faithfi.com.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, the cat that went missing for a year, but was so much closer than everyone thought. That story after weather.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Our winter-like weather continues with chilly air and some more lake effect ahead in the short term. But overall, in the longer term, the core of the cold air will shift east and away from our region. Temperatures will rebound closer to more typical levels for this time of year. But tonight, it will be mainly cloudy, times windy. Lake effect snow and some mixed raindrops will accumulate a few inches in some parts of western New York and far northwest Pennsylvania. Low temps ranging mid-20s to low 30s. That lake effect will diminish during the day tomorrow to a couple of rain showers. High temps, low 40s. On Thursday, clouds, breaks of sun, a shower or two, and high temperatures in the 40s.
Thank you, Kevin. Finally at 5, down to 8 lives. A cat made an incredible return home this week after disappearing a year ago during Hurricane Helene in North Carolina.
We were out here at least 300 days out of 400. Never saw hide nor hair of her.
Jackie and Stuart Pacio watched as floodwaters filled their home. They survived but lost everything, including their 7-year-old cat, Bootsy. Then, suddenly, after a year, a sound.
We heard a wow, and
I said, that sounds like Bootsy.
Yeah.
Jackie and Stuart say she was a welcome surprise.
Couldn't stop crying, and my husband said, you better quit, you're going to scare her away.
The city had just finished building a bridge by their house. The couple thinks the cat had been trapped on the other side of the riverbank for the past year.
Her coming back is really, we feel like it's a A sign of hope, I guess.
It's a good sign of hope.
Maybe things are gonna turn around for us.
Her return is the perfect ending. And that's the world that we live in for Tuesday, the 11th of November. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.